speaking of Ron DeSantis's desire not to have tests, because if you start having tests, people are going to show up and they're going to be testing positive.
I mean, that's literally what we talk about, him mimicking Trump all the time. That's literally what Trump said.
Well, Eric Adams, same theory about testing. And I'll say this. Like, I don't know what's happening at other schools. I mean, I have other parents who are expressing the same thing. And I know, at least, within the context of the two different schools that my kids go to. But the absentee rate of students and teachers is well into the double digits. And because people are sick with COVID and they're not coming in. I mean, we don't want people who we know have COVID going to school, right? So why are we deluding ourselves by saying we shouldn't test? Because we know we'll find people who have COVID or going to schools. Here is Eric Adams, new mayor of New York, who I think it's just a matter of time before this guy, there's going
to be some investigation into like the shady nonsense that he's, been involved with, including his properties that he owns and other things. I mean, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. And here he is, Ken, talking about his students, my students. I think it's endearing on some level, and I think it's also maybe a sign of some type of psychological disorder. But here he is talking about how he doesn't want my students to be taking my tests, because then we're going to have, a problem.
Wouldn't mandated weekly testing for students, teachers, faculty be the safest way to keep the schools open? Why are you not doing that?
Because ideally, that would be the safest way to do it. But you know what would happen?
Pause it. I just it's very important to understand where he just started this. Ideally, it would be the safest way to do it. Oh, okay, so this is going to fall up, but we just don't have the resources. In an ideal world, that would be definitely, obviously, the safest way to do it. We don't have the resources. That's not where he's going with this. Go back a little bit.
Students, teachers, faculty be the safest way to keep the schools open? Why are you not doing that?
Because ideally, that would be the safest way to do it. But you know what would happen? I don't want to lose some of my children. And the way we are doing it now, we are being successful in keeping down the rates low. And if we reach that moment that we have to have that mandatory testing, then we'll evaluate that again with our medical professionals. But I need my children in school, and any barrier to do that, I believe, is more harmful than helpful.
All right, so let's be clear. I need my children in school. Any barrier to do that is more harmful than helpful. In other words, anything that indicates that they have COVID and they need to stay home is a problem. Now,
when he said, I don't want to lose my kids, does he mean, like, he doesn't mean their health. He means he wants them to be in school, whether they have COVID or not.
Exactly. I don't want to lose any numbers in school. And this is just simply, it's bat crap crazy. Look, it is unclear at this stage with Omicron in American schools how much it travels within schools. It's unclear. I've seen competing studies that show it one way or another. It's also probably a function of, like, where are the schools located? What are the age of the students? My daughter comes home, she's like, she's got over 4,000 kids in her school. When they go into the hallway where lockers, like, you don't like just stroll through there.
Yeah.
It's like, the subway at rush hour. And she says, like, there's a big percentage of kids, they don't wear masks, or they just keep it down, and teachers go by and go, like, put your mask up. And we just don't know. We just don't know. But he's sitting there saying, like, I don't want to keep kids with COVID out of school because I need my children in the schools. Why?
There's also just very little understanding still of the effect of long COVID on children, too. I mean, it was 3 days ago out of the New York Times. COVID may raise the risk of diabetes in children. That's what the CDC is looking into right now. So, I mean, you don't want to lose your kids. I don't even see anything that's endearing about it. It's just so weird. Like, okay, then you could potentially lose them down the line if they contract it. We don't know yet, but that's some of what the research is indicating, that there are long health effects from this.
We should also say that tomorrow in New York, there is a school walkout that kids are doing. You got to search it online. I don't know exactly what time, but tomorrow at 4 p.m., I know, and that's after school, obviously. So maybe the walkout, I'm not sure what time the walkout's at. But there's a rally at 4 p.m. at Barclays, which is going to be not just students, but educators, families. And this is going to be outside. So for all you people who want to have the gotcha, how can you tell people to organize? We know outside there's virtually no transmission outside. I mean, unless you're like right up in someone's face without masks. So there it is. But I don't know. This in the schools is insanity. The game plan seems to be, both on a federal level and on a local level, at least in the context of New York, let's just see if we can ride it out. And, fingers crossed. And then, we'll know in a couple of months how many people ended up getting long COVID. How many people suffered neurological issues, how many people suffered increase in diabetes. I mean, we'll get a sense of that.
Finnish health minister estimating that it could be the long COVID symptoms could be one of the major health issues that their system faces, and cited 4,000 studies, and you see numbers anywhere from 50% of adults see symptoms, and I still feel like some weirdness from having it, and 2% of kids. So I hope all these kids that are getting it, people feel that like cool with that on their consciences.
I mean, it's really it's really nuts to take this perspective. I mean, I get it.
So he's been mayor for 10 days. How many gaffes are we going to get?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I'm not talking about gaffes. This is not a gaffe. This is a policy that is effed up.
Okay, how many? Yes, fine. We'll do one bucket of effed up policies and one bucket of insane things that he says publicly.
Yes, I think we're going to need multiple buckets for this guy. I'm less concerned with, a mayor being, quirky, and I'm more upset about the idea that, like, hey, wait a second. Dude, are you really building your mayor? You're like, look at what we did. We were able to keep the schools open by, of course, inflicting a tremendous amount of health damage on teachers and students for years and years to come. He won't mention the second part of that.